Oh no, of course.
I was there. I was myself a revolutionary Marxist in the late 60s and 1970s.
And what makes you suspect of Keir Starmer personally?
Starmer himself is a man of very interesting background. I think his struggles over what I find actually the rather dull subject of the transgender issue are interesting. The reason why he struggles over it is because he is, by inclination and politics for a long time, a person of the very, very far left. He was mixed up with a tendency called Pabloism in his 20s, which is an outward branch of Trotskyism, named after a man whose nom de guerre was Pablo, who's really a Greek revolutionary called Michalis Raptis, who decided that the old form of revolutionary socialism was clapped out, in which he was absolutely right, and the seizure of the post office and the barracks by the working class, that wasn't going to happen. But the revolutionaries should concentrate on two things, the red and the green, the red being the cultural, moral, and revolution, sort of Gramscian takeover of society in every corner, and the green bit, of course, the fanatical and zealous pursuit of net zero and similar targets. And the red bit is, of course, sexual politics, amongst other things. And Starmer, I think, recognizes and has had difficulty over this because he really believes this stuff.
Do you? Or do you think?
I think people, when Starmer in that first debate said, he was asked whether if a relative was suffering on the NHS waiting list, would he go private? He said no. Mm-hmm. People thought he was making it up or pretending. I absolutely believe him. He's an extremely dogmatic person. The other very interesting thing was when he was finally asked a political question interview a week or so ago. Nick Ferrari asked him, when he kept on referring to working people and they wouldn't face any more taxes, who did he mean by working people? And he said, in effect, I won't try and quote exactly, but what the effect of what he said was that the people he does not regard as working people are people with savings. Now, there are many, many people in this country who are not particularly well off, who do have savings and who have managed to accumulate assets. They will all, I think, face very strong egalitarian taxation in one form or another under this government. There are other things about STARMERS which are fascinating. The Daily Mail the other day revealed that he'd been on a trip, a work camp trip to Czechoslovakia, deep in the deep frozen years of communism in 1986. This was in the period when people like Václav Havel were being thrown into jail, when Charter 77 supporters were trying very hard to draw attention to the complete lack of freedom of speech, when anybody who opposed the communist regime in Czechoslovakia was either put into prison or driven from his profession and made to work in menial tasks. It was a miserable Cold War time, and yet he went on this work camp. He was also, when he was a lawyer, a young lawyer in 1980s, secretary of a body called the Haldane Society of Socialist Lawyers. Now, there are lots of things I could say about that, but I won't say any more than this. The Haldane Society was the result of a split among left-wing lawyers in London in the 1940s, a split largely between sympathizers of the Soviet Union and non-sympathizers of the Soviet Union, in which the Haldane Society was the society of choice for those who were more inclined towards sympathy for the Soviet Union, and the Society of Labour Lawyers was the Society of Labour Lawyers, of normal Labour Party members who were also lawyers. No one who was a left-wing lawyer in London in the 1980s could not have known about this distinction. I have particular reasons for knowing about it, but no one, Keir Starmer could not have known, could not have been unaware that there was this distinction, yet he was secretary of the Haldane Society rather than a member of the Society for Labour Lawyers. You have to ask why. I think that he's a man of the pretty strong, hard left, probably well to the left of Jeremy Corbyn, in a modern and, as said, partly Gramscian way, which is incomprehensible to most people who write about politics in this country, because most people who write about politics in this country are politically illiterate, particularly about the left, and don't understand its language. I understand this because I was so very nearly in it.
Oh no, of course.
I was there. I was myself a revolutionary Marxist in the late 60s and 1970s, and I broke quite bitterly with my former comrades, and I make it public. Anyone who asks me, I'll tell them all about it. You know, when I joined, where I joined, what I did, and all the rest of it. They don't. Not one of these people who rose to cabinet rank in the Blair government has ever sat down and discussed in detail what it was that they did.
And why have the right-wing newspapers and media not exposed this?
Because they don't understand it. And I do. Actually, if you don't have any understanding of Marxism and Leninism, you're completely at a loss for understanding modern European politics.
So,
And a lot of, for instance, someone like Daniel Cohn-Bendit, who ended up as a Euro MP, the currents which began in 1968 Paris, and the May events of people throwing cobblestones at the gendarmerie, ended up, in many cases, deep in the institutions of the European Union. One of the main founders of the European project was an Italian communist girl, Altiero Spinelli. You don't know this. But if you are an ex-Trotskyist, you do know, because you can read the signs and you understand the code. It's all there.